All right. Everyone, welcome to Town Hall for Reign 54. Tonight we have Elidibus and Cyrus, your candidates for Monarch. We have Cookie, your candidate for Regent. And we have Rain, your candidate for Champion. First thing I would like to do is open up the floor and give each candidate a few minutes to introduce themselves and discuss their reign plan, and then we'll move into the questions phase. Uh, Elizabeth, you were the first to log in. We'll go ahead and start with you.
Will do. Hello everybody. My name is Elidibus, the Deaf Singer. At this point, most of you guys know me as the king that was in office before Gaius, and you may also know me from just the 3 years that I've been here in Neverwinter, um, doing all kinds of things for our communities and for our kingdom. Um, I'm back in the saddle again. I'm wanting to do it again. And this go around, just like a lot of people have asked before in the past, everybody really loved the rain theme that I had of the 14 gods. And I am coming in with a new story and a new expansion. And most of the rain theme is focusing on the illusion of dimension traveling, but actually it's more of a celebration of many past reigns that we've had here in Neverwinter by dedicating a month to past reigns like Food Wars, Warhammer, MCU, Disney villains, right? And in doing so, kind of tailoring a story that is both unique, but also, celebrates and highlights the fun parts of reigns we've had in the past as well. So that's mine.
Okay, we'll go ahead and pass it to Cyrus, the other candidate for Monarch.
Okay, so yes, my rain theme for this round is going to be Delicious in Dungeon. What that will entail is bi-weekly quests where you'll hunt monsters, and then the following week you'll actually be cooking them. We'll be having arts and sciences, cooking competitions based on as such, and that's about everything. Covers everything.
Okay. Cookie, go ahead and introduce yourself and discuss your reign plan for a minute, please.
Hi guys, I'm Cookie. I think everybody here knows me. This will be my first time running for Kingdom Region, but I've held various Kingdom positions quite a bit. Realistically, the only reason I'm running is because no one else was, and as a knight, I felt like I should step up. And also, if I didn't, Bonbon would have stayed in there, and I didn't want her to do that for her own knighting. So I'm doing C's for crafting and for cookies. So we're trying to make a guild of crafters. We're trying to do a scribes guild. That's my goal. Something I haven't told a lot of people yet is I plan to solo judge Dragon Master and Open ANS just by myself because I want to give all volunteers a break and for them to be able to enter instead of being asked last minute, oh, hey, can you judge? Hey, we need judges. And the people who are the best crafters will give up their spot to judge. So that's my plan.
Okay. And finally, Rain. Go ahead and introduce yourself and discuss your reign plan, please.
Hey guys, if you've been in the battle gaming scene in Neverwinter for a while, you know who I am. I've been Warcrat, I've been on the war team for the past almost 2 years. Been running games on the kingdom level and the park level for a long time. I plan to conduct my war team just the same way we've been doing it for the past about year. Um, I'll run games in accordance to whatever theme wins, and we'll keep it respectful, we'll keep it safe on the field, and we're gonna have a good time.
Perfect. Okay. Just as a reminder to those of you who joined a little bit late, if you throw your credits into chat, you can get a credit for tonight. We're going to go ahead and move on to the questions. The first one I have is for the champion incoming, Rain. There's been some, how would he phrase this? Sorry, I'm trying to get to the responses. There has been some variations in weapons checking between kingdom events and local parks. Do you plan on holding a class or releasing a guide or something of that nature?
This was not something I had ever planned on doing. The way I was going to run my weapons check was I was just going to designate someone who I trust who has good experience with weapon construction. I can do this, but I also, part of the work team is delegating, making sure that the work is passed around through other people. If people are interested in me making kind of a weapon checking guide, I can kind of step through the ROP. I can kind of outline what makes a legal safe weapon. I know there's lots of other good resources in our kingdom as well for this. There's a lot of experts in our kingdom we can that are, I know, very happy to answer these kinds of questions. Like Hugel's one of them. Furt's also a great example of a very good weapon crafter. Cookie Monster even. Very, very good at his swords are very nice. He makes some good quality swords. If this is something people want, I'm more than happy to do it, but it's not something I had any prior thoughts about.
Okay. Another question. This one's for Elidibus. Elidibus, having served terms before as king, is there any mistakes or experiences you have learned from in your previous reigns that you will do differently in the upcoming reign?
That's an easy answer. The answer is yes. Um, my first two experiences in office have been very much like the wheels on sort of training. Uh, and this go around, I've meditated, I've processed, I've highlighted what was the good, but I've definitely contemplated what was the bads as well. Um, I can't necessarily name any specific bads because, those are things that I personally hold on to and I want to grow from and show that I've grown from them. My goal is not just to show that, there's growth in my ability to rule, but also to once again, as always, recognize that I'm not a one-man island, and I need to be able to delegate tasks to trusted people better. I held a lot to myself, which cost me a lot of stress within my last two reigns. And now I'm accepting allowing myself to release to others when needed. So that's a big one, I would say.
Okay. This question is to both Monarch candidates. We'll start with Cyrus since Elidibus just talked. Do you have any plans for Kingdom Day battles at parks?
So yes, I actually have 4 day battles planned. In September, I have a Merc Bottom Day battle. October is going to be Sunset Hollow, Shifting Tides in December, and we're also going to be visiting Tempest Shoals in January.
Okay. Elidibus?
Yes, my rain plan also does include day battles, but it doesn't have as many as Cyrus's has. I only have two. I kind of recognized from my own experience in the year that I was king, that having those 3 day battles or those 4 day battles could have been exhausting at times. And Gaius's, taking from Gaius's page, he also was very careful on choosing day battles to help kind of mitigate, how many people were doing how many different things at once. The one that I definitely have on the books is a day battle for Falling Fire in October.
Of course.
The second day battle that I have is still on a tentative schedule. As much as I would love to host this one in January, just like Cyrus, and I love that Cyrus and I had the same idea. Tempest Shoals was also going to be, sorry, yeah, Tempest Shoals was also going to be the second day battle. but I was holding on to whether or not I was going to make that official because we're not entirely sure whether or not they were going to enter the fold entirely into our kingdom. But if they enter the fold into the kingdom, I would love to host the inaugural day battle the very same way that Cyrus came up with the same conclusion, right? If Tempest Shoals is in there, absolutely, let's give them an inaugural day battle.
Thank you. Question for Cookie this time.
All right, just hold on.
Sid,
Show me
your
on
broad
that.
mi- I'm just going to mute him for now. Sorry. Cookie, the last two regents have both done online ANS contests. Is that something you're looking to do as well?
No, I'm not gonna do that. I am, however, gonna be doing craft and chat the first Thursday. Yes, Jose, you are unmuted, man. Jose's working right now in Miami Beach, so his radio sometimes goes off. So I'm gonna be doing craft and chats on Monday. Oh, not Mondays, on Thursdays, the first Thursday and the third Thursday. I've talked about Cyrus and Eli about this, where they're willing to offer an additional sign-in credit for those days, so we can build the crafting community. But online, no, not this time, because the last two regions before me have done quite a bit. So I want to give everybody a little bit more physical aspects.
Okay. Uh, to the Monarchs, this is a question from me. Having worked with Gaius and seen his view on artifact dispersal within the kingdom, are either of you looking at honoring the artifacts from previous monarchs and or creating or releasing new ones? We'll start with uh Cyrus, because Elizabeth spoke last.
So absolutely, I would be willing to honor the previous artifacts as long as that they're being dispersed and not being held on and not used. Um, Usually, what will happen is like within a reign, someone will get it and then not ever get to use it, or they won't use it at all. And I definitely want to step away from that, give them an extra chance to use it for this reign. Um, Other than that, I believe the artifacts are usually held or monitored by the champion, so I will give him leave to do whatever he wants with additional artifacts.
Okay. Elizabeth?
I think I share a similar mindset with Cyrus on the, people sometimes get their hands on relics and they get them very late and they don't get the opportunity to use them. This actually now that that question is presented to me, I actually do start thinking about, why don't we do kind of like a cycling of relics, right? Like for example, relics allowed from the last reign can be put into the reign that's coming up, right? So reign 53 relics can then be also used in reign 54, and then just kind of cycle out relics from reign 52 and 51. Kind of like how, Magic the Gathering has its standards, right? That cycle out different sets after X amount of time. So I think that would be something really interesting to looking into. I like the idea of allowing relics to maintain as long as they are relatively close in time periods, right? So like for example, when I was king, reign 51 and 52, the relics that were made for the 14 gods there, I probably wouldn't use those because I'd like to focus on any relics that were made during Gaius's reign and any relics that would be made and used in this reign, whether it's mine or whether it's Cyrus's. And then to also answer the question of whether or not there will be any additional relics made during a reign, for my reign specifically, I actually have an idea of creating a singular relic, singular kingdom-wide relic that every person has access to. Um, I'd love to give more information on that, but I don't want to take too much time answering it. And I already planned on kind of releasing that information on a day after this to kind of say like, hey, I talked about it. Now I want to show you guys what it is that I'm talking about. But it is a unique relic that every single person will have access to because it feeds into the story.
Fair enough. Question for Cookie. As Regent, Feast is typically overseen by you, delegated to someone else. I know the last couple of events we have also done, there was casino night, and then there was another, and my brain is not working right now. The masquerade. Do you have any plans for something similar to that?
No, I don't. Right now, I was gonna wait because I know in January Bonma is getting knighted. So I was gonna let her decide what she wants for her vigil. If she wants a big event, small event. That's for N-Rain. For mid-Rain, I haven't talked to either candidate about if they're knighting somebody yet there or if they're not. But we can cater it to the night because it's their one special event. So if they want a casino night, if they want some night quest, if they want something special, we can make it happen. We have to make it happen.
Okay. Uh, for the champion, for Rain, what are your feelings towards siege weapons at Kingdom events?
Oh man, siege weapons are a lot of fun. We actually had some at Merc Bottom that we used for a little bit. We had some ballistas that we were using. So siege weapons are game warping, right? For those unfamiliar, the siege effect on a weapon means that if it touches any part of you or any of the gear or garb that you're wearing, it goes through all traits, all immunities. You are dead immediately if it touches you. So this is a really game warping effect, right? I think if we're going to include them in games, it needs to go through it needs to go through the war team definitely, and the people who are smithing the games so that they have the ability to design their games around these siege weapons. I'm definitely open to it, and I know that if we wanted to use them, we have some really creative smiths that can make some really good use of them.
Okay. I am out of pre-made questions. So if anybody has any chat questions they would like to ask, post them in chat. Otherwise, I will give all of the candidates a chance for a closing statement, and we're going to call it a quick night. And pop in on the questionnaire form. Nothing there. Silence on Discord. I don't know if Zoom shows if people are typing as they're, but I don't see anything popping up.
No, they it pops up when it pops up if it does.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to be patient and give people a chance.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, Ruben, you talked about the relic that you were talking about, but you didn't have time to answer in that question. As champion, if I were to be helping, run the games, help with the balancing of the field, I would like to know a little more about that.
Absolutely. Okay. So, all right. Basically, the relic that I have in mind is a kingdom-wide relic that is about in basically it's an information stone. And every single person is going to get access to this relic. It's literally going to be a website that I create with the help of many other battle gamers who I've been telling about the idea and they want to help put into it. And so what makes it unique is that as we visit different dimensions every month, this relic gets updated. And it gets updated with both the lore of what that dimension is like, um the uh what the history of it is in our kingdom, but also the fun part is that the relic is tied to battle gaming because you can buy new abilities that are tied to that rain theme that you can use in battle games. So my idea was to create kind of like a living portfolio. You visit this dimension and you say, that's really cool. You get to learn the abilities that are unique to this dimension. Abilities from like the Food Ward games, or abilities from Warhammer, or abilities from Disney villains, and they get to be used in battle games. Now, there are a lot of different rules that I built on this, and there are rules that are still being worked on with other people. So to really make sure that this is balanced, one of the biggest rules that I have for it is entirely up to GMR and champion discretion, right? Like, sure, like any other battle game, when you have a relic, right, you want to make sure it's balanced. So it's a fun little thing, a gimmick to put into the games and to put in, put a little bit more whimsy into the styling of battle gamings. But also, I want to make sure that it's something that is controllable and manageable. So it's a fun, um, what's the word? It's a fun I practice for myself and just like a experiment for myself, but I think that it's a really fun way to also just incorporate battle gaming fun, which is always something that I've been big about because most of my rain themes are stories that are driven by battle games.
Okay. We have Sidolphus has a question. Do. Let me. Yep. Go ahead.
All right, so question for both monarchs, and I suppose the champion to a lesser extent. Given the new or the recent announcement for Crucible and that Neverwinter will be participating, what is your plan if elected to do with that organization, like with the actual event itself? Whether you will be traveling, participating, if there's anything that you have for aspirations for that event that brings Neverwinter's charm, what is a bit of cornucopia of it?
Cyrus?
All right, absolutely. I would be traveling and participating. I would also try to get a team together to see what we can help out with, as well as promoting whatever the rain theme is. Obviously, mine's going to be Delicious and Dungeon. I'd try to see if we can't incorporate that into the Crucible, have a little fun, maybe see what else they would allow us to help out with.
Okay. Elidibus?
I actually have been in a lot of different conversations with some of like the key people who are working on building Crucible. And of course, we actually have a lot of crats that are from Neverwinter who are volunteering and or helping with the kind of like culmination of the event. Yeah, including Solgaleo himself, who's here with us. So, um, I would, of course, with any inter-kingdom event from what I've understood, the team gets together, they divvy up how it's going to be divvied up, the responsibilities, the working. If you were asking me the question of how am I going to, show Neverwinter charm, like Cyrus, right? We're gonna put a team together, of course. But the biggest thing is for me also, you know, I would love it to be something that every park in some way, shape, or form, or as many parks as possible, are putting in their best foot forward, right? Because it's not just about ensuring that it's a really great event, but it's a really great event that shows off what we got, right? We're talking about something that is new. It is a very ambitious idea. And like always, I want to make sure that Neverwinter shines, right? We are a great kingdom, so I want to make sure that we're shining with that. Like, heck, if it turns out to be that I am king during the time of the Crucible, we got the 14 gods. It's time to start spreading religions. Time to start spreading the good word of the 14 god across other kingdoms. Or, like again, the biggest thing for me is just park unity, park cultures. So if I were to set up a team, I think I'd want to set up a team that's made of specifically representatives of, if not every park, at least the major regions, right? Like I'd want a person or two people or three people from Georgia, right? Four people from Florida, right? South Florida, Mid Florida, Tallahassee, things like that, right? I'd want it to be a very um spread out team so that we can really showcase what it is that our efforts are together when we work together as a team.
Just to clarify for anybody who doesn't know, Crucible is a interkingdom event that's currently being looked at being held in 2027, composed of Winter's Edge, Crystal's Grove, Neverwinter, and Rising Winds. More specifics to come. We had a question from Ducky. Question for appropriate running parties. Any thoughts on great weapon only tournaments from a great weapon enthusiast? So that would fall first on the champion.
So I think this would actually be more of a GMR question. I really don't have any opinions on running a great weapon only tournament just because there is already a great weapon category in the Crown tourney, which we run at every event. So I can't say I put a lot of thought into it. But I'd love to hear if any if I don't know if the GMR's in this call, but if they have any opinions on that.
Actually, to clarify, the GMR has no reign or control over any tournament outside of Weapon Master and Crown. Well, no, and the Valkyrie tournament. Now, if the Warcrat wants to hold a great weapon tournament or any other tournament, 5 and under, whatever, it is at the Warcrat's discretion.
Then under with that information, I will say I have not thought about running a great weapon tournament. I am more focused on maintaining a healthy battle gaming scene and keeping that running smoothly.
Okay. We had a question from Bert. Question for potential monarchs. Are parks picking gods again, or food themes? Is there a different twist this go around regarding themes and parks? I'm guessing the gods part is towards Elidibus and the food themes is towards Cyrus. Um, Elidibus, I keep having you go second, so we're going to start with you this time.
I don't know. I think it'd be kind of funny if Cyrus was like, actually, everybody, what are your gods? No, I'm kidding. The the parks picking god system is very much a my first and second reign idea as a gimmick to introduce the gods. But at this point, there are so many people across the kingdom who have their favorite god or have a vague idea of the gods as a whole. And so I will not be asking parks to pick a patron god. Instead, I would like the parks to simply just roll with whatever they have, right? Majority rule. More than likely, I can imagine a couple of things that are still gonna persist. Merkbottom is probably still gonna keep Corneas as their god. Shifting Tides is probably still pick Meridiana as their goddess. Sunset Hollow, Stellaria, right? Falling Fire, Thanatomos, right? It's kind of like a thing just because those parks have really captured and or really uh absorbed that lore into their lore, so they're running with it. But I will not be forcing any park to choose any patron. It's simply just the gods exist. You all know about them. Go have fun with them, right? And any person can believe in any god. Parks can maybe even have their own religious wars. Which god is better if there's fighting gods between different areas. Like for example, for a long while, uh Falling Fire had a fight between whether it should be Thanatomos or Lyrilia, goddess of the arts, right? So they had kind of like a big fight over that. So I leave that up to the parks. I want the parks to have more autonomy with their with how they play with the rain theme instead of uh forcing them to have something to play with.
That's
As
fine.
for my theme, you're not really picking and choosing like foods. What will happen is you'll go on every other week. You'll go on a quest, and essentially you'll hunt whatever monsters are available during that quest. Each level of the dungeon, and you can choose whatever you want to cook out of what you're able to hunt. Um, if the parks do not want to participate in that, that's absolutely acceptable. It's all for the role play environment and enjoying the theme.
Okay. All right. We have a question for Rain from Higier. Will you be warcratting your events or will you be appointing warcrats?
So I plan at least, unless there is some, act of God. I will be work writing my own events. I've run the war team before. I like running the war team. I like working with people who I know are going to do a good job. The war team system we've set up with I believe it started under Sid, has been working great. Uh, and I don't see any reason not to run them myself.
While I've got you in the hot seat, Rain, I just remembered something from your Rain plan that you posted that a member of
Sure,
the
sure.
clerk wanted clarification on. You said you weren't going to do spotlight battles. Did you have a plan already in place or thought of for helping to promote battle masters or paragons?
Absolutely, I do. If you guys know me, you know that I take the battle path pretty seriously, right? Like I am pushing myself to be a battle master eventually. Um, I think that the Spotlight games were a good first attempt at trying to create a more competitive battle gaming environment. But one thing I've noticed with the Spotlight games is that when you focus all of the attention from Battle Masters, Battle Knights on these one or two games, people get into this mentality of those are the only two games that matter this weekend. Um, and people kind of seem to get bent out of shape during those games. We see tempers flare up. We see people kind of just being jerks to each other on the field. Um, I personally saw at this last Kingdom event a lot of pretty rude behavior from players towards Reeves, and I don't really want to abide that. Um, but I also believe that there should be space for competitive battle gaming in our kingdom, right? There are people who are pushing for Paragons, people who are pushing for Battle Masters like myself. Um, so what I want to instead do is I want to um, ensure that that intention is being distributed throughout our battle games, right? I want every game to be treated with the same respect that we would treat a spotlight game. I want to promote this. I think some of the very positive things that have come from the spotlight games are the going around asking teams who they saw that was, doing well on their team, who was making big plays, who on the enemy team as well. And one of the things I want to do is promote, we called it scribes, I think, on the last few war teams, where they would go and take notes after every game and they'd bring those recommendations straight to the champion, to try and talk to the monarchy team, try and promote giving out orders of the battle for these players. And to do this, I was also planning on having on the clipboard that people are going around writing on the back of it, I was going to have a QR code that just led straight to the Kingdom recommendation page. And you could just follow that, recommend order battles right there on the battlefield with your phone. That goes for Smiths as well. If you really enjoy the game you just played, recommend people for some Smiths. Um, I think that that kind of culture, if we keep pushing it, it'll not only become more safe, more respectful, people will also be getting the awards that they deserve, with recommendations from the populace.
Okay, we had two questions come in while you were talking. Um, the first is an anonymous question that is going to be aimed at the champion and both monarch candidates. How are you planning on upholding fair and equal accountability from a disciplinary standpoint? Uh, Cyrus, we'll go ahead and start with you if you don't mind.
Can you go ahead and repeat the question?
The question was, how are you planning on upholding fair and equal accountability from a disciplinary standpoint?
So, as far as accountability, are we talking like? I guess we're talking about just in general, administratively. That's handled by the Monarch, the KGMR, and the KPM. And really, what happens is we'll all talk to all parties involved, discuss what is the appropriate plan of action, and then we execute from there. As far as like maybe towards a lot of situations are park levels, and we like to handle it, from the bottom up, from person to person, your local monarch and officials. But if it does, obviously flow into kingdom area, we'll handle it from there. Um, I think that's all I can think of off the top of my head. But as far as ensuring it, it's all about communication and, checking every avenue before making a decision.
Okay, we'll go ahead and pass that question to Elizabeth. You're muted, Elizabeth.
Sorry. So during my time in office, I had actually quite a number of bundles of different types of disciplinary actions, requirements of the sort. I always walk the line of moral truth and moral right before nepotism or interest in one party over another. And that's something that's been a really big deal because in some senses, in some situations, it has put me in direct opposition with people who I consider friends. And at the end of the day, I'm always going to choose, or I'm going to try my best to choose what is the right answer and what is the right thing to do that is fair and equal for all. Now, I do agree with Cyrus that, of course, the question is solely for Monarch, KGMR, and KPM because we are the individuals who focus on discipline. That being said, the question was also asked to the champion, and the champion is my eyes in the battlefield, right? The very same way that the KGMR is my eyes in the tournament. So if the champion himself had an issue that needed to be handled and managed, then he would also be a part of the conversation. That is my philosophy um, on the standard because at the end of the day, um, that they are the persons who's in charge of monitoring safety and equality on the field. So therefore, their opinion and their standards and what they believe should be absolutely placed into the disciplinary action as well. Um, as for how to handle it in a fair way, I do agree with Cyrus in the stance of it, local level first. And any person who has been on the kingdom chair, especially as monarch, or a disciplinary team, knows that very quickly do problems and issues get pushed up to the kingdom level. They press that kingdom button very quickly for a lot of things. You know, Dragal, for a lot of things that are not necessarily kingdom level. That being said, outside of the process, execution and expedience is the most important thing for me. I don't want to sit on a topic for too long and then afterwards make a decision when everything looks like it feels like it's been handled or it's quiet and nothing's happening and all of a sudden write something. Um, so that's a big thing for me. I like to handle things as effectively and efficiently as possible, as fast as possible. Um, have I fumbled in the past? Absolutely. Many individuals who have been in our position have made mistakes. Um, but I still believe truly in the process of equality also includes not picking a side based off of nepotism or allegiances, but standing strong to say, I'm sorry, my guy, you fucked up, or you messed up, right? And so you are still in trouble.
All right, Rain, as champion on the battlefield, how are you planning on upholding fair and equal accountability from a disciplinary standpoint?
All right. So this is a question that just goes back to like good reaving, right? Good reaving means you're having a fair, safe, respectful environment on your battlefield. That you are kind of not that you're t not taking any nonsense from people, but if people are actively, you're noticing that people are actively behaving in an unsportsmanlike manner, cheating, um, kind of just being a jerk on the field, take them aside, try and de-escalate the situation. If people don't want to de-escalate the situation, that's when I would probably have to remove them from the field and escalate and go talk to the Monarch, go talk to the disciplinary team. Because champion isn't a formal part of the disciplinary team, right? That's going to be the champion, or not the champion, the GMR, the Chancellor, and the Monarch. Um, but, like Ruben said, my input, if it did happen on the field, would probably be important. And I mean, a lot of you probably know, as a Reeve, I don't take much crap from people. But I'm not a jerk. I'm fair. If you try to push me, though, you will be off my field. And that's all I have to say.
All right. We have a question from Abeja to all parties. What initiatives are in place to promote safety during battles and events? And since we haven't heard from Cookie in a while, we're going to put him on the spot first.
How are you guys doing today? I- Oh, if you got, oh, you want to, oh, okay. So, Laura got a wig. I saw it. I had to put it on. My hair was getting kind of cold. So, what was the question? Can you repeat it for me, please?
The question is, what initiatives are in place to promote safety during battles and events?
Honestly, it's empowering the Reefs. Like we just had an incident at SuperCon where we had some players that were damaging the weapons, were not playing safe. So we empower all of our members, all the people at the event that came to volunteer. They have the power to kick anybody off the field, and we will back the decision 100%. And as a monarchy, and I'm being king before, I've said that to my members. Hey, if you think something's wrong, kick them off. You're the Reeve, you're the champion, you're the regent. If you see something, you say something, all right? You want this to be a safe environment for everybody. Yes, Eli, I know. I have better hair than you. I understand. All right, thank you.
Okay. We'll go ahead and take this to Rain, please.
All right, this was a Beha's question, right? About making a card a better place. Is that the one we're on? Sorry.
No, no. We haven't gotten to that one yet. That's
Okay.
after needing. This is the one. Um, do do do. The one
Oh, safety
before
and
that.
of the
Yes.
initiatives in place to promote safety during battles and events. I mean, like I just said, goes back to good reaving, right? If you see someone behaving in an unsafe manner, if you see somebody, doing something that they're definitely not supposed to, you have to speak out. And I think that I want to create an environment on the battlefield where we all feel like comfortable enough to, keep each other in check a little bit. If you see something, say something, come to one of the reeves, come to me, and I can help ensure that the battlefield is going to be a safe place for everybody to be hanging out on.
Helps if I unmute myself before I start talking again. We'll pass to Elidibus and then we'll close with Cyrus on that question. Elidibus?
So what initiatives are in place to promote safety during battle and events? I think one of the biggest things is that we have, as a kingdom, been focusing more and more on ensuring that there is safety involved. And if there is fumbles on that safety, that there is proper communication and repercussion. for those fumbles. At the end of the day, we don't want people to be hurt, and that's never going to be a big thing for like that's never something that we want. For myself, um, just based off of my own personal observation, I think an individual who is going to be running for Metacrat or Hydrocrat needs to ensure that those are individuals that are only stuck to those positions and nothing else. I know that we all are driven to want to help and put ourselves into situations that help us, or that can ease the workload for others. But those two positions are so vital. And frankly, I don't believe in the idea that it should just fall on the shoulders of a single person, right? Hydrocrat needs to have a dedicated team. Even if Metacrat really can't, I think for the kingdom, we only have two medic bags, right? But we need to ensure that the two individuals who, or that instead of having one individual in control of that Metacrat, of both of those, we have two, right? Or that we have a system that allows everybody to kind of recognize, okay, where is the current medic bag at, right? So for example, Medicrat team should probably have their own chat and have their phones on them that says currently, checking in every 30 minutes, like medic bag is here, medic bag is here, medic bag is here. I'm with this, I'm with that, right? We need to be more serious about ensuring that everybody is well aware as to what our positions are and what we are currently doing. That also includes Hydrocrat. Last event, we were trying to figure out where the Hydrocrat was at. And of course, it's not that they're slacking on their position so much as it is we're moving around, right? We're humans. We're moving pieces on a board. So I don't want that to fall on the shoulders of a person. Instead, I would like that to be a team and a team that's able to communicate back and forth with each other and also with the Krats and everybody else to say, where are you currently at? I have two people over in the battlefield. I have two people over in the weapon master. I have one person floating around in the general vicinity just in case. Right. So that would be the initiatives that I think we need to start putting into positions for events and battle games, in my opinion. Like, I don't want it to fall on uh, people getting hurt and then a singular individual taking a spot. No, we need to grow beyond that and we need to start having actual organized teams.
All right. And lastly, Cyrus.
So at this point, everything's pretty much been covered. Carry on. You know, if you see something, say something. Every member of the team understands. We need to be operating safely. Ensure that there's plenty of water. It's Florida. It's Georgia. It's hot. People are going to fall out very easily if they're not drinking water. If they're refusing to drink water, pull them aside. They don't need to be playing until they start drinking water. Um, but that doesn't just stop there. Are people camping safely? Are the cooks in the kitchen cooking safely? Is everything being handled in a safe manner? Are people being too rough on the battlefield? All these things come into play. That's where you have good reeves, good champions. We have Kratz walking around monitoring everything. And if things aren't being met safely, then obviously administrative action is going to be happening.
Okay. The next question is for Mimi, and you all sort of touched on this already, but they have asked flat out, do you have, I'm guessing this is to everyone, do you have any planned tournaments, special ANS based on your theme? You've all touched on that you have craft nights or whatever planned, but do you have anything special? I guess is the question they have. Uh, Cookie, we'll start with you since ANS is right up your alley.
The answer is no. I don't
Yep.
have anything planned other than Dragon Master and Open ANS. And for the people that just got in the chat, and just so it's on record, I'm going to be judging alone for both Open ANS and Dragon Master. I want to give everyone the opportunity to enter. We always have the best crafters judge because they're asked last minute to, hey, I really need a judge. And even though they have an entry, they want to help the kingdom. So I'm going to carry that on my back and judge everything. And if people have a problem with that, they can address it with me.
Thank you, Cookie. We'll go ahead and go to Rain.
I'm sorry. I forgot to take my ADD meds today. What was the question?
Do you have any special tournaments planned or
Oh, no, no, no. I do not have any special planned tournaments as we stand right now. Uh, I think that ensuring that battle games are running smoothly and on time, that just seems to be the more pressing thing to be happening, at least from a champion standpoint. We've tried Battle Master Crucibles and stuff like that in the past. It's somewhat of an administrative nightmare from what I understand, from my knight Sid, you know. Um, and if one of the parks wants to do that for part of their day battle, maybe we could make that happen, but I hadn't planned on any of it. But as I said in my ring plan, I also am also planning on working with the park champions for when day battles happen. And if that's something people want to do at their day battles, we can try and make it happen. But at Kingdom events, keeping the battle game field moving consistently is my foremost priority.
trying not to talk with food in my mouth? I apologize. Cyrus, do you have any planned tournaments or special ANS based on your ring?
Absolutely. I will be having several cooking competitions, recipe competition. And it's I was thinking to myself, it's going to be kind of like Iron Chef. You're going to work with what you got. And I want to see what you can come up with the what's provided. Other than that, I was thinking of, we're going to go through floors of the dungeon. I'm going to have a competition to design a monster for the final floor of the dungeon that's going to be used at our end rain. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
Okay. And the last person next question gets passed to is Elidibus.
Something that I found from my last experience is that putting pressure on either local or kingdom champions or regions for your own like personal or like stylized tournaments or ANS things are things that can add to things that already are on their plate. It doesn't look like it, but region and champion do have a lot on their plate. So I did specifically tell Rain that, if he was to be champion under me, I was not going to force him to do anything crazy. The relic was going to be entirely my project to just kind of like develop with other people together. And that he would have full control to use it however he wanted, as opposed to making it an expectation for him to have to manage it. And the very same thing that I told Cookie, which was I don't have any special ANS plans or special ANS tournaments that he needs to manage or he needs to focus on because again, right, Dragon Master's right around the corner. He has to be the one that manages some the major kingdom tournaments. So instead, what I am going to do, which is the very same thing that I did during my second reign. This is an open invitation because I wanted to do another Project Runway for the whole kingdom. But instead of being a Project Runway Gods and Goddesses edition, it was going to be Battlefield Couture. Just yassify and stylize your favorite class. And instead of this one being restricted to, the parks and their patron gods, it's going to be whoever wants to make a team and they want to just yassify a class, right? Just make it real, nice, runway presentable, handsome, sexy, powerful, charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent of showing off a class in another runway for Feast to enjoy. That's like the only NS thing, and that is just for me to manage again, right? Like I don't want to put it on either of my other officers. It's just fun for me and fun for everybody.
Okay. The next question we received is a two-part question. The first part is, and this is for all parties involved, how do you plan to make Amtgard a better place and community for current and future members? The second part being, how can members contribute to the overall health and vitality of the kingdom? We'll go ahead and start that one with Rain.
All right. Like I said, guys, part of the reason I'm cutting Spotlight games is to try and promote this kind of competitive, respectful battle gaming environment for our kingdom as a whole. I also want uh, Park to be able to run their day battles the way that they want to, especially as far as day battles go, right? So I'll be working very closely with the park champions, the park monarchs, to try and help them get the resources they need to run their day battles. I will try to make it to the day battles if I can. If there's four of them, I don't know if I'll be able to do all of them, to be honest. I have limited PTO through my job. Um, I think part of making the community a better place for current and future members just it starts with accountability, holding each other accountable. I think it starts with treating each other with respect. Um, and I think that a good way to do this on the battlefield is to just if you see someone struggling, if you're an experienced player, go help them. If you have a new member to your park, go help them learn how to battle game, go help them learn whatever they're going to want to do in our game, because not everyone does battle game, right? I don't know anything about crafting, but when a new player comes to me and says, "Hey, I want to learn how to sew," I say, "Okay, go talk to Asphodel." I don't know anything about that. But it's just this kind of community where it's like if you don't have the resources to help someone, then you should know someone who does have those resources to help somebody. Um, and this also ties into contributing to the overall health and vitality of the kingdom, right? Part of that is ensuring that new players are constantly coming in and that we're retaining these new players, right? So treating kind of the new blood of the kingdom with respect, being kind to them, helping them to grow into great amp guarders. That's my the core of my philosophy in amp guard a lot of the time. Um, but I mean, just holding each other accountable seems to be very important to me. And I want to try and bring that into office with me.
Very much. And we'll go to Cyrus for this next.
And yes, I was looking over that. It definitely 100% being welcoming atmosphere, making the kingdom better. All starts at the park level, and I encourage everyone to be a part of that. Um, and it also, as Rain said, it's about holding everybody accountable for their actions. Um, it's a physical game. I get people get into it. People get loud, rowdy, get a little agitated, but that needs to be pushed away. Some of the more toxic attitudes that more competitive players have, that needs to be understood that that's not going to be tolerated. And as far as it goes up, it's about becoming more welcoming to our outside players, people who are experiencing Amp for the first time. It's it's all an experience, and we need to make sure that that experience is the best that they've ever had, and not just stop there, but keep it going.
Thank you very much, Cyrus. Scroll over, make sure. Yep. Okay. Cookie.
So the question is the current inside of Amcard is the one from Melanie, I believe, right?
Part one is, how do you plan to make AmpGuard a better place community for current and future members? Part two is, how can members contribute to the overall health and vitality of the kingdom?
Members can help. This is as a two-part. I want to address the second part first. Members can help by helping other people. And that's what it boils down to. You want to help someone else because when you first started, they helped you. And we have to keep that healthy cycle going. And speaking of cycles, if we have someone who's an asshole, I know I'm business streamed. I understand if I get COC for this, but if someone's an asshole, he shouldn't be in our game. It's that simple. If we all have issues with somebody, then they're ruining. COC 6 is there for a reason. I've seen it kill parks. I've seen it kill fighting companies. I've seen it kill a lot of things. And so we have a community cannot ignore that behavior. We can't find that behavior acceptable. All right. If we see an issue with something, if we see someone's being bullied, someone's being harassed, someone's being, and it's not, even if it's not one of our friends, somebody that we don't care about. I know Tempest Shoals has just started their a freehold right now. I'm trying to represent them the best I can because I want them to do that for Future Park. All right. And I want everyone to really think like, all right, I want every single park to go into a duchy, Grand Duchy level. But how do we do that? Because if we're not growing, we're dying. That's pretty much what it boils down to. The culture is not the best in Neverwinter, but it's better than what's happening in the CK. It's better what's happening in Golden Vale. There's a lot. That's what people have to look at. We may not have the best time at park. I'm learning to sew. I haven't been able to fight because of my elbow, but I'm teaching new people to sew. I'm making weapons. So even if you're injured, you should still come out to park because you're people look up to you if you're an older player, regardless. So they watch your behavior. And if you act like an asshole, they're not going to want to come out. But if you act like a mentor, which you're supposed to be, they'll stay and the park will stay alive.
Okay, thank you. And then we finish with Elidibus.
Okay, I'm gonna take a bit of a controversial or just hot take on this because this has been something that I've been mulling over for a while now, especially since I've stepped out of office and I've had kind of like a moment to perceive everything. The first part of the question, how do you plan to make Amgard a better place and community for current and future members? I think that as monarchs, we have allowed too much of the individual voices of knights to simply be what flows into our game. As monarchs, we are the ultimate voice. And at the end of the day, I understand that we want to manage things at the local level, but what I'm trying to get to is um, when it comes to the second part of the question, how do we get our members to also be uh, creating a safer space for everybody? That doesn't just falls on your basic every person that goes. It falls, in my opinion, directly onto the knights, right? At the end of the day, I've recognized that our circle of knights is slightly off step from each other. And that is something that has been a concern to me because I truly believe that um, the shining beacons of example need to be able to actually be that. And that doesn't just mean opening up your mouth to criticize or to dictate or to say, I have the white belt, so I know better. I truly believe that it should absolutely change and shift towards the you want to have the good example of the cycle that moves on, then the knights need to be on top of that cycle. And the king or monarch needs to be on top of those knights. Because at the end of the day, the oath that every knight takes is to their kingdom and to their monarchy. And so if they're just laughing at you, right? Or they're not acting in the manner that is supposed to be the cycle that protects and creates growth and vitality, then that needs to be addressed. I love the idea of the individual person, park goer, doing their best to make sure that everybody's having a good time. But that should not rest on the shoulders of the populace, right? The populace are not the knights. The populace are the players who are trying to have fun. The knights are the ones that should be holding that, that shouldering, that weight that is literally represented by their chains. That's me.
Thank you very much for your response. Next question is aimed directly at Sir Cookie Monster. As Regent, do you believe that suggestions for orders of Owl, Garber, Dragon, and Smith should be awarded solely from ANS tournaments? Why or why not?
I'm gonna say it again. I've been saying the word no for pretty much for every question. The answer is no again. because I have crafters who just don't enter a single tournament, but they're some of the best crafters I've ever met. They just don't want to be entered, and that's fair, as long as their work proves it for them. Sir Bertrus, I believe, has never entered a tournament. She got her Master Dragon. I have a bunch of friends in the CK who do the exact same thing. They just don't want to enter because they don't like who the region is. They don't like how the ANS is run up there. But they do amazing, amazing work. My cookie tunic, if you guys have seen it. Listen, she is a Master Dragon. She never entered anything. She didn't even want to enter it at ours. She's like, I don't know. When I enter it up there, they're just mean because they don't like me as a person. They don't look at her work. They look at her. But I believe as long as your work shows the crafting you are, I'm gonna go off tangent for a minute. All right. I believe tents and masterhoods are the same thing. All right. But I believe being a master and being a knight are two separate things. So someone who has been crafting for a long time comes into our game can earn their masterhood in 2 months, in my opinion, if they've been doing that craft for most of their life. Someone who's a professional singer can come into our game and get a master dragon. Does that mean they're a knight? No. But they should be able, we should not gatekeep those awards because they haven't spent that long time in the game. Because there's still the jump from masterhood to a knight. All right. Does that answer the question sufficiently?
I believe it does. All right. Next question says specifically for monarchy, so I'm going to assume that means it's aimed at our two monarch candidates. What are your current insights into the culture of Amtgard as it stands today? Are there any issues or trends that you see raising awareness or sounding alarm bells within the community? Ruben, we'll start with you, or Elidibus, we'll start with you, please.
Um, I cannot speak for the community at large because, of course, I really only try and focus on what's going on in Neverwinter. Um, but from the trends that I've seen in Neverwinter, things that have been stressing me out mostly have, again, like I mentioned before, the offset of how our Circle of Knights has been behaving in comparison to how people are wishing to observe them, right? And how, at the end of the day, I truly believe that it all starts at the white belt and at the level of the monarchy, maintaining that the white belt is structured properly and, following the examples that are required so that I can stop hearing the alarm bells. Every other situation at some point that I have been seeing so far have had to do with, the issues between those who have power, those who have the belt, those who are just being like, what's going on here? And who it hurts the most is our new players who are just at park trying to have a good time and they hear, right? They hear the drama. They listen to the poison that's dripping from, up above down into their ears. And I'm sorry, I have to take it from the perspective of our new players are children and they are very quick to catch on and pick up to what the adults are talking about. We may not think so, but they are, right? And then that just creates a cycle of persistently continuing drama and issues that we're not handling properly. So my biggest alarm bell right now is how do we stitch and mend together a more congruent Circle of Knights, and also how do we um, kind of just manage them better so that we're healing and helping our community grow more properly. Cookie, are you gonna run out of things to wear? Don't do this. Don't. Oh my God. Um, Other issues and trends that I have seen, of course, The growth of Valkyrie presence in our kingdom is magnificent. I want to continue pushing it forward. This is not just a kingdom thing, this is a game thing. And more importantly, outside of that, something that I've also noticed, which is I want to give this as a tooting of the horn of Neverwinter. I've seen other kingdoms that are arguing about the validity of the pink sash. I really appreciate that our kingdom as a whole has kind of stood its ground together to say the pink sash is important. We need to make sure at all times that our, less able players are still able to enjoy the game how they can without having to limit them or tell them no, right? It's not about trying to, push people down. It's about trying to find the avenues to ensure that our people are having the most fun possible. So that's a big one for me.
Okay. Thank you, Elidibus. Cyrus.
So yeah, like I was listening to everything that a little bit said, and it's spot on. I was thinking of many stories that come to mind. Coming back into Amp back in 2020, I was a new player back on the field, not even a not even the first week. There was already complaints about the kingdom addressed to me. Nothing about the game, nothing about how the park operates. And you can't. It's not just the knights; it's the veteran players as well. We need to make sure that drama that our culture is just drenched in drama at a certain point, and we need to make sure that we put an end to that. And what that means is that we need to focus on making Neverwinter a better place, and by being better, if that makes any sense. We need to call out, of course, bad behaviors, bad toxicities in the groups, and we need to see what we can do to remedy that, whether administratively or not. Um, and it's all by a case by case basis, unfortunately. But the best way to improve our own culture as a kingdom is to um, is to encourage better behavior from our knights and our veteran players.
Okay. Thank you. The next question again is for potential monarchs. Excuse me. How do you feel about allowing transparency about knighting discussions from the Circle of Knights being made available to the person being discussed when the COK discussion ends? We'll start with Cyrus this time, please.
Absolutely. All knighting discussions should be made public. I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Okay. Elidibus?
I also stand with Cyrus on this one. I would probably put a little bit more specification to it. We do currently in the Corpora have a requirement that the Guildmaster of the Circle of Knights has to produce a report of, what's happening when it comes to candidates and things like that. But that writing in the corpora is very vague. And so oftentimes it can just fall to a what were the votes for? Was it a yes? Was it a no? Doesn't include discussions or anything like that. Um, if we wanted to ensure that this is something that's enshrined, then it needs to be enshrined in the corpora as a more structured thing, right? Like when they're giving the report, what needs to be included and how should it be disseminated. I agree that there should be transparency in candidates being aware of what's being said about them. I don't think, however, that it is a good idea for the populace to have full reading of these discussions. Again, it's trying to strike the healthy balance in between um the trust of the Circle of Knights because of course they are a semi-autonomous system. right? And we want to preserve their ability to behave as a semi-autonomous system. But I do believe that there are certain concessions that can be made to help support and to make candidates aware as to what's being said about them with full transparency so that they know what they need to be working on, or frankly, even if there are some things that have been said in the Circle of Knights that may need to be monitored. And that's just from my own perspective as when I was king. And of course, I am privy to those conversations. Now, what a candidate chooses to do with that information, I believe, is entirely up to them. I would not hold a candidate to a NDA, basically, because I believe that a candidate should have the power to express how they feel. Now, how they express that, of course, as the First Amendment, freedom of speech means being able to say what you want to say, but you do need to be careful about what you say and how you say it. Um, so I do believe in transparency. I believe that it needs to be something that if we pursue, it needs to be structured carefully to the benefit of both the candidate and also to ensure that the Circle of Knights is being held accountable properly, but also maintaining their level of semi-autonomous nature as it is the case for the Circle of Knights in any kingdom.
Okay. We've got three questions remaining at this point in time, and we have been going a while. So if you have anything you would like to ask, I ask that you go ahead and get it in now. Um, the next question we have is for all candidates. And the question is, what are the candidates' opinions on award culture as it stands in Neverwinter? We have seen multiple different monarchs, champions, and regents, all with their own takes on how high orders and masterhoods are to be met out. So, what are your respective opinions on this topic? Rain, we haven't heard from you for a while, so I'll let you field this one first, please.
All right. Award standards, especially with battle, right? That's what's going to be most important. Like that's probably what I'm going to have input on as champion, right? Um, higher order battle awards like Paragons, your 8th, ninth, 10th, Masterhoods are kind of odd and nebulous in definition how they're given out. I think in terms of battle gaming, like it has to be somewhat community driven, right? Recommendations should be coming from the kingdom. Recommendations should be coming from just people playing the game, right? It sh- I think that's a good starting point, and then you can kind of have it vetted by either your battle masters, your battle knights, people who do know what they're talking about with this kind of stuff, or at least they should, right, if they have the awards. Uh, and I think that like that's a pretty good sounding board to initially like start talking about paragons, and higher order awards. I've seen other kingdoms do Circle of Paragons where they can. I scared Ruben there. Where the paragons themselves actually have inputs on the classes, people receiving paragons. I don't know. I'd have to coordinate with sorry, my ears are falling off. With whichever monarch wins, to kind of decide this kind of stuff.
Okay. Um, let's throw a little bit in the middle for once, so he's not getting the start or the end.
So I'm just still wiling over the hat changes here. Ridiculous. Um, okay. My opinion on award culture as it stands in Neverwinter. I think that famously, I've received much feedback on my quote unquote free-handedness when it came to certain awards. Um, to kind of follow up with Rain here on this philosophy, um, when I work in my system of deciding what awards should be given, I never believe in the idea that it needs to fall solely on what I observe. Does it look like I'm giving out a lot of awards? Yes. It's probably because I'm also asking all of my officers across the board, what do you think it should be given and who deserves what? If it fell entirely onto me and nobody else, more than likely I wouldn't have been given as many awards as possible. Right? Again, my champion is the person. He is my eyes on the field. They are my eyes on the field. My regent, they are my eyes on the field or on the ANS stuff. Same thing with KGMR, right? Frankly, even the KPM manages a lot of people, especially during the events. If a KPM said this person who was crowding this or was volunteering during this person deserves a Rose or a Smith or whatever, 100%. Right? So I believe in the idea that every officer should be able to have their input and also get a greenlit because these are the officers that we're trusting to be in charge of monitoring and ensuring that things are doing well and to recognize greatness where they see it. And so it's something that I've always found to be strange that only the monarch gets to give the awards because truly if it only felt to me and only me, then, I don't see everything. So, um, I also have this philosophical idea, which is something that was embedded in me very early on when I first started taking offices, especially at the local level, which was awards are imaginary. This is a cake, an imaginary cake. We can add as many slices to it as we want. Why are we fighting over a slice to the imaginary cake? Right? I think it should be less about, having a tight hand on the valve that releases the awards, and more so about ensuring that where it's being released to is properly being recognized and properly uh being given to like, properly distributed. Um, like sometimes I think that we don't ask, sometimes I think that we put too much pressure on, whether or not the award should be given, and less pressure on whether or not a person wants an award. Many of the big ones, like 8, 9, 10s, even sometimes masterhoods, I personally do reach out to the candidate that I think, or that, we're discussing on whether or not they want it. And I ask them if they do, if they feel that they deserve it. Right. On many times, do I get the answer? Yes, sure. Okay. We already basically came to the decision that we're going to do it. It's more of a formality for me to be able to gauge where that person believes that they are sitting at. I'll give you a great example of that. I currently was in the middle of a huge argument about whether or not I should receive my warlord in my 10th after the last weapon master that happened because I got a 30 kill streak and won that weapon master. By ROP, I should have technically gotten it. I very specifically expressed to as many people as possible, I did not feel like I was worthy of both awards. And that ultimately was what drove the hand and decision making of Gaius, right? Like I appreciated that people came up to me and talked to me and told me, you need to take it, you need to take it. But we should also take into consideration the individual who we're giving it to and what they want it and whether or not they want it. So let's broaden who it is that we're talking about when it comes to this stuff.
Okay. We'll go to Cookie and then we'll let Cyrus close out that question.
Hey, can everybody hear me with the mask on?
You're only slightly muffled, but you're good.
Okay, just want to make sure. So, I've been Monarch before, so awards for me are something that I look for in people. This is an imaginary game, like Eli said. We do this for fun. Sorry, guys, I didn't think you guys could hear me. So, this is something we do to get away from our real lives. The awards are to recognize other people for the things they've done to be part of the community. Some data went out a while back about how with female fighters, if they don't get their fort or the warrior within the first, I believe, 8 months, 9 months, they're more likely to leave the game than other members. And this applies to most people, not just women, but everyone in Amguard. When you receive an award, you feel special, you feel acknowledged. So when you feel acknowledged, you feel part of the community. So I've seen some people who are very stingy with awards, which I think is the wrong way. I think we have to give them freely because we want to keep building that community. That's how I was a king. They called it Cookie Christmas the first time I was monarch. I'll take that title. And I'm gonna hopefully talk with Ruben about that too, where we can give lower level awards during lunchtime. That's something I did. I think that's really nice because the lower level parks, they can't give out fours, fives, sixes. But at lunchtime, be like, hey, we need all of, let's say Cresthaven to come here for a minute. All right, you guys, because you guys can't earn this at local level, but we see the work you guys are putting in.
Okay. Cyrus?
Okay, and yeah, that's a very good question. I've been on both sides of being very stingy with awards and being very giving. And it all comes down to at this point, especially being at Kingdom, handling these bigger awards, just if you've earned it, you've definitely earned it. And all I ask is for proof. So I'm reaching out to my Monarchs, reaching out to my team. Like, what do you feel about this person um, getting this award? And can you show me what they've done to earn it? Absolutely, not a problem.
Okay. Uh, the next two questions, are aimed at our potential monarchs. For the first one, we'll start with Elidibus and then we'll do Cyrus. Do you believe there is an unnecessary push towards inclusivity within Amcard, or do you see it as a vital part, not valid, vital part of the community's growth? Elidibus?
At no point will I ever say that inclusivity is a unnecessary push because every single one of us comes from very mixed and diverse communities at the local park level, and we stand strong to protect our local people and our communities. I don't see why it should be any different when it comes to the kingdom level. And I also don't think that there should be a difference when it comes to Amgard as a whole, right? If we're willing to fight for our people at our local level, then we should be willing to fight for the people in Amgard as a whole. I will never ever say that it is an unnecessary push. In fact, if anything, we need more of it, right? But we need to be doing it with direction, and it needs to be direction that is well guarded for less of a personal agenda on any part and more so about just ensuring that everybody's having a good time, and that includes any individual who's playing our game. Um, the second part of the question, that was that part also asked yet, or do we want to wait? Okay, I can wait to answer that part.
Okay, Cyrus?
So someone recently asked me, like, what's your favorite part of Amp And I say, you know, is that there's something for everybody. And I feel that's the same way for inclusivity, is that this needs to be a place for everybody. Everybody can enjoy the game, ho- whether active or inactive or on the sidelines or in the game, as long as we promote a welcoming experience for those players. That's the biggest thing, growing our group and making sure that we fill it with great people.
Okay, final question I have before us. Last call for questions, by the way. The final question I have at the moment is to the potential monarchs. What is the proper procedure community members should take when faced with derisive comments from established members from the community? Cyrus, we'll start with you on this one, please.
So, like I was saying earlier, it's a zero tolerance policy as far as that. Everyone should feel welcome, and if you're not making someone feel welcome because you don't agree with them, that's unacceptable.
Okay, thank you, Cyrus. Elidibus.
Um, yes, to of course what Cyrus said, but I'm gonna build upon it more. Proper procedure for community members taking face. Okay, so one of the biggest things for me is that, again, an individual who is established in our community needs to understand that their word has weight and power. And if a person cannot wield that weight and power with responsibility, then it needs to be monitored or taken away. I don't care if that person is a monarch, a knight, or just a veteran that's respected or established in our community, right? At the end of the day, it needs to be something that, um, like, I hate to say it, but knights, monarchs, veterans, we've had our time and we've been vetted, right? It's the new people's turn. And so we need to make sure we're protecting them. We can't be saying crazy stuff in front of these people. We cannot be denying or angering or creating a space that gets a person to kind of like get shocked, right? And say, oh, wait, this is actually not cool. Like this is toxic, right? And so those individuals need to be monitored and they need to be play and they need to be carefully watched. I'm sorry to say it, right? I love a lot of our knights and I love a lot of my our players in our kingdom. We gotta make sure that these people are um even like I think maybe the issue here is that there's just a huge gap, right? This is just something from my perspective as well. The gap, generational gap between veterans and new players is actually relatively large. And for that point, I would say that there may be some things that you may think are okay to say. Frankly, they're not anymore, right? And even if they're not anymore, I'm sorry to say this, but it's just not something that should be promoted. The argument of, well, it used to be a lot more different back then is not a valid argument, right? We are always pushing towards ensuring that things are where we're standing right now. Um, so yeah, my biggest thing is going to be if comments are being made, and especially on public forums and standards, my thought, my like for example, right before I came out of office, there was a huge debate that happened in a post at Kingdom. And my immediate response was, you guys decided to make the Kingdom your platform to show your asses. And so therefore you will be punished for it, right? The public spaces that we share as a community need to be maintained very specifically as simply just what it is without having to create drama or um, an unsafe or unwelcoming environment at all times. What you say in your own things, unless you are actively attacking or targeting individuals, like keep it to yourselves. And frankly, nobody needs to be listening to your bullshit. I'm sorry.
Okay. That appears to be all of the serious questions. Um, I skipped over duckies, just like I skipped over guys. No insult intended. Robin, could you please mute yourself? Um, unless there is any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and at this time start allowing all of the candidates to make a final statement, and then we're going to call it a night. We'll do it in the reverse order that we opened with. So we will start with Rain.
All right. I pretty much said everything I needed to say tonight, guys. I'm gonna make sure our battle games run well. I'm gonna make sure the field's safe. I'm gonna make sure we're all respectful. Weapon check's gonna be smooth. We're gonna make sure everything that's coming through is nice and safe for you guys. I just want everyone to be able to come, not be able to worry, and have fun while battle gaming on our fields. Seems like a pretty uncontroversial take. So I hope you agree with that one. But thanks, guys. Hopefully I don't get too many no votes.
Okay. Cookie, your closing statement, please, sir.
I'll say it before and I'll say it again. I plan to have a fr first of the month, third of the month craft and chat day. I'll be solo judging Dragon Master and the Open ANS and mid range. That's really it, guys. I don't have much else. Oh, and the hair's fake, by the way, if you guys didn't know. Thank you.
Okay. Cyrus, your closing statement, please, sir.
All right, so everybody, this is my first time running for king. I'm really excited. If you know me, I love Amtgard and I love food, so I'm glad to be able to combine it together. Hopefully, everything works out. I hope to get your vote. Um, I think either way it goes, we're working with a really great team, and I think it's going to be a great reign.
Okay. And Elidibus, your closing statement, please, sir.
Yes, this is very much my first part is directed towards Ducky. They're both a kilogram. I'm sorry, my guy. You're just gonna have to deal with it. They're both a kilogram. It's okay. You'll be fine. Now, as for a closing statement, you guys, for the most part, everybody knows me. You guys know, I try my best to put my best foot forward. I am not perfect, but I'm a person who is always willing to learn and learn from my mistakes and continue pushing towards what I believe is the betterment of our kingdom to improve our kingdom further. I've always stood for improvement. I've always stood for just allowing room and space for people to develop themselves and push their ideas forwards. And that's the same thing that I wish to put with this platform at all times, is always pushing us forward and progressing forward. So thank you guys for your time tonight.
Okay. I would like to thank all of our candidates for showing up and answering these questions all very patiently. Thank all of you. I'd also like to thank every member of the kingdom who decided to show up and be informed. Informed populace is a voting populace. Thank you for showing up. Decisions are made by those who show up. Don't forget to put in your information so I can get your credits entered. And here, hopefully, in a couple of hours, I will have this uploaded to a private YouTube and I will send that to all the chancellors as well as posting it on our Discord and Facebook. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.